Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're joining us from around the world. Welcome to Web3 Warriors, episode 48, featuring Jigar, reconnecting with Jigar, the MetaVoxelz creator, wearables, and metaverse builder. Welcome, Jigar. How you doing?
What's up? I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Happy to have you back, man. Well, welcome everyone. I'm David Krome, your host. I go by Krome in the metaverse. And today, as we're reconnecting with Jigar, we'll be talking about his favorite subject, or definitely one of his favorite subjects, digital wearables, and where we see kind of fashion in the metaverse heading as we look into 2023 and beyond, right? And really exploring his space as well, which we were able to take a look at, I believe it was in September. Last we connected with him. And it's really cool. I always stress the importance of the fact that, this is a global community that we have in Web3, and these peer-to-peer transactions and being able to support people in any corner of the world very easily is a key kind of component of the Web3 creator economy. So I do love that Jigar is always reliably kind of available to talk metaverse, talk digital collectibles, and being able to really connect. He's out in India, I'm here in Canada, and yet we're able to find time to really sit and conversate about where we see this crazy Web3 space going, where we see the metaverse evolving to. So it's just really nice to, have friends in this Web3 space that are reliably coming through and having awesome conversations. So really appreciate you, Jigar. And today we're looking at really, where do we think Web3 fashion and digital wearables are going to kind of evolve to from here? Last week we spoke to Batis from the Space Metaverse, which I had not been too familiar with. And I kind of like that they are taking a kind of commercial angle on the metaverse and really creating these custom spaces that are made to help you kind of sell your commercial items. And he talked about fidgetals, right? And the idea that we're going to be seeing a lot more people or companies selling both a digital version of their clothing and a physical piece to go with it, obviously, in real life, right? And as that evolves, do we picture kind of a future where there are almost kind of like a social statement connected to the clothing that you're wearing in the metaverse? We've already seen a lot of metaverse wearables go for fairly crazy prices. So in that sense, I'm sure the people that are spending that big money on their wearables are trying to make a social statement with it. So it'll be interesting to see, as shopping in the metaverse, as we discussed last week, becomes more popular. Are people trying to kind of show off in the metaverse as well? How do we see kind of the whole cultural fashion element of the metaverse kind of evolving? So that's part of what we're going to talk about today here. And I also do want to quickly mention this is the last day of our 444 What's in Store community NFT, which is free for collection. You do have to pay a little bit of gas fees, but shout out to the handful of listeners and guests that we've had on the show who did claim theirs. I appreciate you. And we're really just looking forward to kind of building out on the blockchain, what's possible, how can we utilize tokens to kind of add extra value to a podcast, which is not a very typical thing podcasts do. But we're also collecting NFTs. We're also looking at investing in the metaverse and building out a space for gamers really in this Web3 space. So stay tuned to that. So yeah, we do have a lot on the go, and we're really excited for 2023 and kind of building out this episode 48 as we head towards episode 50. It's kind of crazy to look back at all of these amazing, inspiring conversations that we've been able to have. So today we're talking future of the metaverse, future of avatar fashion, and Jigar is an amazing guest to kind of touch base with and talk about where he sees things going. And then we also had some interesting news in the kind of Web 2 metaverse space that I want to ask Jigar about with AltSpace VR, which is a fairly popular quote-unquote metaverse that is used by a lot of people with VR headsets. And we've actually heard a lot of people even in the Web3 and NFT space building out kind of cool spaces in AltSpace and showing their NFTs there. So it's interesting that they made the announcement that they're actually shutting down in March. I believe it's March 10th. So I'm going to talk to Jigar about that and maybe how metaverse like that, which is very kind of Web 2 typical kind of closed environment, versus a Web 3 metaverse, if it were to shut down like Voxels, which we're looking at right now on the screen, how would that differ? So that's an interesting topic. But before we get into that, Jigar, I just want to welcome you back, and I'd love to hear just what have you been up to since the last time you were here, and how you doing, man? Thanks for joining.
Hey, thank you so much. First of all, the third time, you must really like me very much.
Of course, man.
That's a good feeling. So thank you so much for giving me once. It's always a pleasure talking to you. What I have been working on, it's been an adventure, I would say. From the last build, I have been learning. I have been trying to see what other type directions I can take these whole builds to, and I've been constantly looking at what people are doing in the metaverse, what I have been doing, and what struck me just a couple of months back that why not start making movies in the metaverse or making short animations because I build sets, I build merchandise stores, and I can build. I've been quite good at building. Plus, I make characters. So when you can build sets and you have characters, I think the next best thing is you could have Hollywood sitting over there and maybe progress from there. So it's always a learning experience for me. My if you see even my drops in the last year, it I just had two drops in the whole year. Majority of my time is going on what new can I do, what better I can do. I think with the pace where Web3 is going, I have got the independence of experimenting. I don't have something at the back of my head constantly telling me that when's your next drop, when's your next uh, mode of making money. It's not it. It's what else can you learn? What else can you add to the things you're doing? And it's just been wonderful. So 2023, I am all excited and ready to go. I am making short movies, like I said, and it's different because this time something different. What blows my mind when I think about this is imagine you're watching a movie. You like the movie, you like where the movie is shot. You click a link and you go where the movie is shot. You can actually be in the same place where the action is being taken. So something new, something exciting, and that's what has been pushing me to
That
do
is really
more and
neat.
work more.
Have you thought about like all the different production elements of what's required trying to like actually pull together a movie or sitcom in the metaverse? Like obviously you still kind of need at least voice actors, if not physical actors, and the scripting and all that. Or are you planning to kind of do that on your own?
So far, I am done with my first short video. It's a proof of work kind of video. I'm trying to incorporate as many elements that I've been able to learn while making videos. I'm like I said, the best part is in the space we are at, you don't have to be you don't have to be those blockbuster movies or
Mm.
something that plays on Netflix. You can start. Your community can see your start, and then you can grow from there. So I don't have to start with a full team. I don't have to start with thousands of dollars investment. I can start from something small, maybe make a 3-minute video for a start.
Right.
Take that 3 minutes to 6 minutes, take that 6 minutes to 30 minutes, and then maybe go for a 3 hour 2 hour movie. And that's the freedom that this space gives me, my friend.
No doubt. And
It's
even in NFT style, well, for one, you probably be limited on file size, right? But you also have the opportunity to kind of do these bite size, like short segments, right? And as long as they gain in popularity, you can kind of just keep building on that. So that's a really cool opportunity. That's awesome, man. So since the
how people appreciate. See, like the art, pixel art in NFT space, pixel art is respected. These art styles that we saw back in the 80s, back in the 90s. So you can be of that. You can bring nostalgia through the similar kinds of animation and not have to be high definition. And
yeah,
yeah,
that's a good
I love
point.
that.
That's a good point. Pixel art does do fairly well in the NFT space. A lot of respect for the nostalgic kind of like older style of art and older style of video games and experience as well. So that was actually one of the questions I was going to ask you is like, where do you see the metaverse kind of evolving this year? Are you interested in some of the more high fidelity options that are supposed to be coming out this year? I believe Other Side is supposed to be a little bit more open this year. There's also, I think, Sandbox continues to tease out more access. But how do you feel about kind of the other metaverses that are growing? I know Voxelz is kind of your home base and you are an amazing builder in this voxel space. But how do you see kind of the other spaces that are supposed to be launching this year or becoming more open this year?
I still feel, I mean, it's been 2 years in the space now. I still feel it's going to take more time. High fidelity designs, we don't have the kind of bandwidth. I think I said that before. But I'm keeping an eye. I'm keeping a close eye. I just started checking out more spaces in Monaverse. I see high fidelity design, but then it's all brings back my point again. It's those are independent spaces where you cannot just walk by pass by another parcel and see what's up. It's
Right.
still a more guided or a more guided uh, audience that you're going to be depending on. And
Right.
the main reason that the small spaces cannot be combined as a world by these platforms is the bandwidth, is the amount of space these high fidelity designs take. And the more space they take, it leaves lesser space for experimentation. So 2023, I think I'm going to be still on voxels. Sandbox, again being voxel space, has been able to show more potential this last year. But again, the other ones with for high fidelity, they're still on the same
Yeah.
space. And yeah, I think 2023 still is going to be the voxels
Yeah.
here.
No, that's a great point. So the limitation with the higher fidelity often is, like you say, this open world functionality. So I'm just walking around your MetaVoxelz spot in the Voxelz metaverse. And so when I exit through the side door here and you look around, you can see all these other plots, right? So these are real additional plots that other people own and they can build on. Some have built better than others, but that's your point, right? So it becomes a lot harder when you're looking at kind of high fidelity, really high quality 3D renders to actually build out a metaverse that is this interconnected and still having your kind of sovereign ownership of your actual lot. To your point, I think Sandbox is really trying to do that, but they've also stuck with voxels, right? They're just kind of higher fidelity voxels. So it's interesting that they've taken that route. I think maybe they saw the functionality in voxels and what they're doing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Sandbox. I think they've gone pretty corporate with it, right? Like they have a lot of the big business name behind them, and they've been kind of slow to really open their doors in a more official way. So I'm curious about it, but yeah, interesting. We'll see how that goes. So looking specifically at voxels, then, are you excited about any new functionality that they're rolling out? Is there anything in 2023 that you have high expectations for specifically in this metaverse?
I have. So we had JavaScript that you could do scripting in CryptoVoxels. The last month it was in multiplayer. So for example, if there is something that is scripted on my parcel, like if you press a button and the door opens,
Mm,
something of that sort. If you press the button, only you would be able to see that happen. If I was right
right.
next to you, the door wouldn't move for me. And that brought in a lot of restrictions in the experience point of view, but that changed now. Just last month, they made it multiplayer, and that takes it to the next level.
Wow.
So that it as soon as you add scripting to these spaces, it changes everything. You could gamify it. You could make the interactiveness. You could have more interactiveness with the people who visit your parcel. So I'm excited on that. I've already started working learning the scripting portion, and in as soon as my movie's out, I think I'll be done with the first phase of scripting that I'm going to write on
Nice.
my parcel.
I can't wait to
But
see that
it's
movie. That's amazing. Oh, shout out to Ingrid in the chat. She says, dope space, Jigar. Thanks for chiming in. And anybody from the chat can ask any questions. Appreciate you. So I'm looking at these awesome Marvel pieces that you've got here, Jigar. So you got the Black Panther, you got Spider-Man. And this one in the corner, is it like the space station or what do you got going on here? It looks super cool.
the Death
It's
Star.
the Death
Yeah,
Star?
it's part of the Death Star. When Han Solo is like hanging on one side and Darth Vader is in that ring. Yeah, that.
Got you,
I'm
got
not
you.
looking at the screen, but I think it
You
is.
know, I assumed it was Star Wars because I saw the double lightsaber under, but I was like, oh, I'm trying to pinpoint the location. But that part of the Death Star, I got you. Very cool, man. It's so creative, really. It's really next level. So we're looking forward to the movies in the metaverse. So that's really exciting. I believe you mentioned as well. Now I want to plug Renaissance City. So Renaissance City is a really cool project that Jigar and a team of really awesome developers have put together and builders, where you're basically able to create your own little galleries. So I've got my own tab open, which I've been trying to update. Jigar, one time I updated this and it didn't save, and I cried a little bit because I spent like 2 hours updating it, and then like I came back later and I guess it refreshed or something, and all of the changes I had made didn't save. So I've
So,
still
like
got.
I said,
Yeah.
this past month, like they're making changes in the scripting. They're working on it. So I've had that experience as well. There were a couple of days when I worked a whole lot on a space, and then the next day I come back and it wasn't there. I know, but again, it's an experience. It's so at this stage we are bound to face challenges like this
Oh yeah, no, I
because
wasn't I wasn't complaining about it. It's like so amazing.
I do,
It
but
was
I
just
feel
yeah.
I went through the same experience, and I cried a little too.
No doubt. So I'll be working to revamp it. But my main question was actually, I think you mentioned somewhere that the signature book is now saving. Is that accurate? Even in these
Yes,
spaces?
yes.
That
So
is
even though the participant space is free, now you can still, gather the people who gather the wallet addresses or the data of the people who visit your space, appreciate your art, and you don't have to go there and take an extra act of asking them for their wallet addresses.
that's so
it's
awesome. So with that in mind, I want to plug. Go to web3warriors.io. That's going to bring you to our Renaissance City spot, and you can come sign your wallet on our signature book here, which is still at 0 signatures. So we're going to put this to the test, the guest book. Please do sign the guest book at web3warriors.io. That goes to our listeners as well. And we'll definitely have some special giveaways for those who make it onto our guest book wallet list. So looking forward to being able to utilize that. And we'll be revamping this space as well. And we also got a really beautiful media space from Jigar back in September, which is really, really beautiful. And I've been working on that slowly as well. So Renaissance City, is there anything you want to mention about Renaissance City specifically and kind of looking into 2023 with the team there, or anything you're building? Yeah, I'd love to hear just, how you think the use case has gone and what you got planned for the next year, if there's anything.
Renaissance City started off with galleries to support artists, and it was always something that began by for helping out, artists helping out artists. And while luckily last year, because of Renaissance City, we got a lot of support, and we were able to buy another parcel from Renaissance City. And while building that, the team got closer, and we realized that we all have been working on something more bigger, which somehow helps the children's mental health uh, all over the world. And we came across a whole toolkit, a system that one of our team members, Marina, has been working on. And as soon as we got more information on that, on how the tools can, revolutionize, we Marina and Stargazer, the other two members, have constantly been working on that. They even put NFTs aside, and I've tried to stay on in the scene, because we had three partners and four partners, and we realized that someone there's importance to build on something that we've already worked on. At the same time, it's even important to stay in the Web3 space because it's so fast. It's ever changing,
No
even with
doubt.
the AI. So we're trying to our best to divide what our ourselves in different tasks and grow. Because and we are coming out. We have a new build that we are excited to show.
Nice.
It's much bigger and has more utility than our previous Renaissance City galleries.
Wow.
But still time. We still are missing some things, and I wish I could talk more
Hey, no,
about
no,
it,
no
but
problem, no
this
pressure.
is something
I just wanted to give you the
certainly
floor.
there.
I just wanted to give the floor to acknowledge Renaissance City because it's a really beautiful thing that your team did there. Shout out to Marina and Stargazer and your whole team. And I look forward to really seeing what you build out. I think it's going to be, well, I can only imagine because these Renaissance City pieces have already been really beautiful. They have definitely an architect's eye, and so that part of it is really, really cool. So awesome. It's more to look forward to this year, it looks like, from the Renaissance City team.
Looking at my works, people say that I am the best. And the space, a lot of flowers, a lot of love shared about anyone. But Marina and Lorenzo, those two of them, the work they do, they keep me grounded. I can never, feel like I've achieved something, because those two artists, those two builders, keep me grounded. Tells me that okay, and wonderful people, wonderful artists, humble, and so much to learn from them. It's been a crazy experience.
I love
And the
it.
fact that me being in India and them being on the opposite side of the world,
Mm.
and you can still feel those emotions, feel those connections, and work together, build together. It's just wonderful, man. It's just been a journey.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
And definitely, I might have been one of those people saying you're the best. I just love the way you use the lighting, I'm looking at the Goku versus Ryu here. And it's just really dope, man. Like just putting in that extra little bit of effort to make things super engaging and kind of attractive. And I can't wait to see the movie that you're putting together. I think it's going to be really exciting. Awesome, man. So we got stuff to look forward to. Renaissance City. We got a video in the metaverse, movie in the metaverse coming from Jigar to look forward to. Really exciting, man. Congratulations. I can't wait to see those pieces. So I did want to pick your brain a little bit about the AltSpace VR news. So as I mentioned at the top of the show, Microsoft has officially announced that AltSpace VR is going to be fully shut down as of March 10th. I was in a room yesterday with Ope, shout out to Ope, and she's got a community of people who have built some really cool spaces in AltSpace, right? And some of whom just built it more recently, I think, and some I think hadn't even finished. So they were working on a space right now and they got this news, right? So of course, as a fan of the metaverse and specifically on-chain Web3 metaverse, I can't help but think about, how would this go differently in a Web3 metaverse space if, for example, Voxelz tomorrow, for whatever reason, the leadership team said we have to shutter it, you would still have all these digital assets you've built on your Web3 MetaMask wallet, right? You would still technically even have the lot and the pieces that you've built on that lot just all ready to plug and play theoretically maybe into another metaverse space. So first of all, maybe what do you think about the AltSpace news? How did you react to it? And then we'll kind of get into maybe comparing it to some other Web3 metaverses. But what do you think about the news there?
It wasn't shocking. In fact, this is what we've been speaking since day one. Every time not every time, but there's so many times when I show my work in Voxels to someone, people say it's very boxy or you have other why voxels when there are other metaverses like AltSpace when you could do stuff in high fidelity. But it was always a point, those are not metaverses, those are not on the blockchain, those are not Web3. And it's funny, I didn't expect AltSpace to make that move. I thought,
I found it surprising just because everything I hear about it, and frankly, I've been in there a few times, and it's pretty cool, and visually it looks really nice. The community is awesome. Like the people that I hear having fun there, like are all cool people. Shout out to Ingrid, shout out to Ope, and a lot of others from the Clubhouse community. We always hear about their AltSpace spaces, and I've seen a few of them. So yeah, I'm just surprised. I get it because there's obviously dev work in the background that's required to like keep it going, and it was basically a free platform as far as I know, as long as you had the VR headset. So yeah, I'm just curious on why they went this direction.
But look at it in this way. Tomorrow, even CryptoVoxels can go bankrupt and have to close down. But what would happen in that scenario? Because it is on the blockchain, I have proof that I have bought a piece of land over there, but because everything I build has to be minted and goes on the blockchain or a specific server, I can always download the JSON. Like everything I put then gets updated in the JSON, and I can just download it and keep it with myself, save that for myself. Or even if there comes a time when they have to close it down abruptly without any intimation, because it's already on an independent server, I can always go there, download the JSON, pick another platform and upload it there, or put it on Unity or Unreal Engine, or continue working on building on there. So these are mine. Even the characters or the avatars, everything is owned by you. It's not like Alt VR where you're giving them your IP plus using everything that they own. And that's what happened, everything that everyone's built so far. I respect Ope and Ingrid, all these people who worked so much, but like the example before this, you said you updated something and you lost that.
Yeah.
Imagine you've been building on these worlds for years, upgrading, learning every day, adding new stuff, and then all of a sudden it's not there. At the snap of a finger, it's not there. What would you do?
Yeah,
so it just proves that Web3 is the way to go.
No doubt. All right, so I want to give a interesting points that Ingrid's raised in the chat here. And so you mentioned Unity. I know that a lot of people have had custom spaces built for them for AltSpace in Unity. And so those original files, Unity, Blender, would still be available to them, right? So they would still be able to hold it. Now, there were others apparently who have used like AltSpace offered like free spaces where you could build out like within AltSpace. So those are gone when AltSpace is gone, because of course it's just on the AltSpace platform. But if you have your own Unity or Blender files, theoretically you'll still be able to potentially port those into a different metaverse, down the road. So even though it's not on chain, there were these opportunities for creators to kind of build. But I guess when you look at the avatars, right, I'm pretty sure maybe there were some clothes that you could do custom on Unity or Blender, but a lot of it was all just provided by the platform, right? Yeah, it's interesting kind of juxtaposition, and to your point about the Web3 metaverse, I was talking like that at first, I'll admit, as far as like only the on-chain metaverse is the metaverse. And I've since been, a little bit softer on my position on that, because I do think, looking at the fact that the metaverse as a term, as a concept, starts way back in the 80s, right? So the fact that, obviously the metaverse has been the whole digital space for a long time. So now here at Web3 Warriors specifically, if you look on Twitter, we say our location is the Web3 metaverse. And it's made that distinction for a reason. It's not just the metaverse, but the Web3 on-chain sovereignty, financial sovereignty, actual digital ownership of your assets in your digital wallet. That's the distinction we're trying to make. And I just think that this AltSpace case, there's a lot to like about AltSpace, but I do think there's a lot to learn from this scenario. So hopefully we're able to add that value. Anything else I missed there, Jigar? What do you think about the fact that at least in AltSpace you could, if you did it custom and you have your own files, you can theoretically, bring it maybe to the new space they build or another different metaverse? Hopefully not the name that will not be mentioned here.
Artists are artists, man. See, I'll tell you something. These things don't pull an artist down. They might make you feel down for a little bit, but you get up and you move forward. And whatever you're able to, gather back and use again, it's fine. It's good. But again, what if AltSpace did not? What if there were no ways where you could download these things or use this thing? It's at least Web3 gives you that promise that you can, because you own it yourself. You can call it yours. But again, I think I don't know. It's right now. It's all about the experience. It's not even the stage we are at. Frankly, it's not about even the ownership. It's about the experience and the platform that helps you give out the most of experience or interactiveness with your community. It makes more sense. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's Web3 or Web2, because it's the stage we are at. Right now, it's the learning which is more important. It's your experience, building that community. If that is more important, and yes, for it doesn't make sense if it doesn't make a difference if it is AltSpace VR or this thing. But in the longer run, these things would matter as soon as the masses start accepting or getting to know about these experiences. As much as these experiences build, ownership would be required, because you would right now we're just spending time on maybe variables or builds, but tomorrow as more and more features get added, you're going to add so much more, you're going to build on so much more, and then it's going to be very important, if you can save all that hard work that you put behind. So at the moment, I would say just keep building on the experience, keep building on your community, and that's more important than anything else at the moment. Yeah.
No doubt. No, I feel that. And that's what I came around to as well. And Ingrid was mentioning that they did have custom avatars as well. And so it's the same scenario. If they built the custom avatar themselves, at least they can hold on to their files. So yeah, that's really interesting, and I think that the on-chain ownership has a lot of advantages, but it's not necessarily the be all and end all. And to your point, community and being able to actually congregate and create space for like-minded individuals, that's what matters more than anything. And I think that's what the metaverse does offer, both in Web 2 and in Web 3. When I look at the advantages of the Web 3 metaverse, I just love the idea of while you're walking around in those spaces, that individual people or groups of people actually own these lots. And when you go into them, there's a whole kind of commerce, right? It's like a marketplace built into it, and you can just purchase things directly from your crypto wallet, and it's all just so much more real, Whereas I felt like whether it's AltSpace or this, what does Meta call theirs, Horizon or whatever, like when you're purchasing stuff on their platform, you're just giving the money to the platform, taking a piece, and the platform is taking a much larger chunk of the revenue from the creator of these digital assets, right? So on that point, I did want to ask you also, like looking at, I guess, Meta and the Instagram space. I know Instagram's been pretty good to you, right? From your 3D building days and really being able to kind of like create a name for yourself even before you jumped into NFTs. And now they've got their own quote unquote NFTs, right? That are on Polygon, I believe. And I haven't even looked at them myself, but I've heard some people interacting with them. I think there's like something like a 25 to 30% cut that Meta takes, something like that. And apparently, like it's still kind of centralized on their server. And then when you try to actually take the crypto out, there's all kinds of additional fees and things. So this is just what I've heard. I haven't experienced it yet myself, but I'd love to hear it from you, Jigar. Have they come to you kind of like trying to pitch their NFT system, or are you into that ecosystem at all, or any thoughts on it?
Not yet, and I'm glad that I haven't. I haven't even checked. Believe me, it's. I mean, what are we trying to move away from? We are trying to move away from these very people who've been thriving on other people's work, and selling their data and everything, and even their first move on naming themselves Meta, even though they were not a metaverse, or they're still not a metaverse in so many senses, and still just buying that name, was a wrong move. It shows so much about their intentions,
Right.
what they give more importance to. So I'm going to stay away. I'm going to stay away as much as possible. Uh, I hope I never have to use that platform for NFTs. But again, those platforms are at the moment you have to use them to make sure you put the message out. So I'm using it at the same time. NFTs and metaverse for me would be a big no-no for sure.
No doubt, no doubt. Yeah. I personally have all kinds of problems using Instagram, even just for posting pictures and stuff, like just the data side of that whole conversation. I still have a Facebook account, I still have an Insta account, but it's even for the show, right? Like I realize for marketing, it is what we should be doing. And I rely heavily on Twitter, and I just kind of want to plug in with the community. And I haven't really been doing that marketing side of things. And it's still the case that like, if you're going to be serious about marketing, you basically have to at least go into Instagram, if not Facebook, in this space, and in any visual space, really. So it's an interesting kind of balancing act. I think there's still a case to be made for these kind of Web2 social media companies, at least while they have the eyes on them, right? It's my hope, and we've talked to some creators that have looked at the kind of more, what's it called? Last week we talked to Batis, who was talking about the Open Metaverse Alliance. I don't know if you're familiar with this, Jigar, but he was saying like all of these metaverse spaces, he's one of them. I believe Decentraland's in there, Voxelz is in there, I believe Sandbox is in there as well. So they all sign on to this concept of the Open Metaverse Alliance, which one of their key pillars is that we will not monetize and pilfer the data of our users, right? So the hope is that like there's this new ethos with Web3 that is on the consumer side, people like myself who actually care about our data and don't want it to just be used and like basically enriching these big corporations and getting very little or nothing out of it ourselves, right? So that's the hope, right? Do you think that that's a realistic hope? Basically was my question. Do you think that this idea that Web3 can usher in a more open and respectful of data environment? Like, do you think that our data is going to become more secure in Web3, or do you think that it's actually somehow, some way, these corporations are just going to keep doing the big data thing and pilfering our data? What do you think? I know that was a very long-winded question. I apologize.
No, it wasn't. It's a thing that I've been thinking for a very long time. I mean, even before coming to the NFT space, I was a very cynical person. At that point of time, I had no hope on humanity, believe me. But being on the space, seeing how people came together from around the world, it changes everything. It started off with a small light of hope. There's still hope, But now I'm more positive than ever. I think this is the time that things are going to be turning up. Things are going to be turning upside down, and no matter how difficult it seems, the people who want to help or who want to grow together, who don't want those mistakes in the Web 2 to move forward in the Web 3, I see them being stronger every day. It's slow, it's gradual, but I think it's going to win, is what I
Let's
would say.
go. Let's go. And most importantly, it's better, right? And we all can agree that it's better, It's disruption. That's the name of the game right now, I think. Looking at Web3, even looking at the broader fintech space, right? Beyond blockchain, it's all about disruption. It's all about increasing access to, transactions, being able to send money more with less friction, basically, easily. And that's part of the blockchain, part of this peer-to-peer economy that we're building. So yeah, I mean, I hope that you're right. And I've also had a lot of cynicism washed away in Web3. But at the same time, we've all seen the FTXs. We know that crypto is a crazy, messy space, and there's all kinds of security concerns that you want to definitely be aware of. So there's always going to be, humans are going to human, right? But definitely
I do want to add on that. Everything's not about money. This space is different. This is a technology that we are moving towards. It's a revolution in technology.
Word.
And still there are people who just want to put money in, come back the next day and make bags. And they don't want to know who's actually putting in the efforts. So those people who are not going to learn the technology, see the people or respect the people who are putting the efforts, are going to go down. Not everyone is going to be saved. And mistakes, it's not the end of life.
Mm-hmm.
Believe me, the reason today, if I'm speaking with a little bit of confidence, a lot of that portion comes from the mistakes that I solved. Today, someone who doesn't want to learn, who just has money and wants to make more money, falls down or makes a mistake. Tomorrow they will come back and try to learn more, because it's not like, because okay, they failed and they're not going to have to come back to this. This is where technology is moving towards. They're going to have to come back, but next time they come back, they'll be more careful. They'll actually take some time on seeing the people who are working on this. They'll see the ethos and they'll work as per that. So I don't think anything's a failure or anything's gone bad or down. The space has made me see things positively, and that's what I'm going to be continuing to do.
That's what's up. That's a great optimistic outlook, and even the more difficult lessons, they're just that. They're lessons, right? And so hopefully the whole space will learn from stuff like FTX and these crazy rug pulls in some of these NFT corners. But to your point, the tech's not going anywhere. And what you're building here on the blockchain is not going anywhere. And these awesome wearables that you're pushing out there are not going anywhere. Shout out to Ingrid, just mentioning that Opay does also lead awesome metaverse tours on Web3 metaverse spaces, Decentraland, Voxels, Monaverse, all these cool spaces. Spatial's another really cool one. Monaverse is one of those that is a bit more high fidelity. To your point, Jigar, earlier, have you looked into building in Monaverse? And how do you feel about these ones that are, going for a little bit more of that immersion? They usually have their own SDK, which is like the software development kit that allows you to kind of build custom digital 3D items, assets for their metaverse specifically. Now, it is obviously because you have to kind of build specifically for their metaverse. They all tend to say that they're looking for interoperability in the future, and maybe that's a hope that you can build for one metaverse, but then be able to somehow bring it into other metaverses. But how do you feel about ones like that, like Monaverse, where it is a little bit more tailored, but you also have quite a bit higher fidelity and more functionality? How do you feel about that?
It's nice, but it's pretty good. But look at the functionality again,
Mm.
utility. You have a space, you can put your art over there, and you could see things. You could look at things. But interactivity wise, like adding scripts, because it is high fidelity, they've already occupied 90% of the space that they can experiment on. Now it's going to be very difficult for them to adding the scripting part or the little things that's going to be adding to the whole experience. And it's not that the technology is not there. The technology has been there, like scripting, JavaScript, the most basic scripting has been there from decades now.
Mm.
But because of that, it doesn't leave that much space. So they are trying, but it's still not going to get there. Like I said, you can have wonderful art galleries over there, but
Mm.
now look at it in a way. If you have art over there, would you want people to focus on the environment or just the art? Right?
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. And that is something in voxels, these like Renaissance city galleries or any other really nice spaces in voxels. It's cool enough to get you there, but then the art really does kind of just pop out. And when you like see nice art up on these voxels walls, you just want to stop and just like take it all in, maybe click on the link, check out the actual NFT site. And that is what's really cool about voxels. And to your other point, I know in Monaverse, I think when they want to make connections between the different lots, it's like a click to teleport kind of thing. It's not like a big universe where you're walking down the street and seeing all these different lots, right? To your point about that's why you're limited when you go that route. Yeah.
I want to be there. I want to be working in these high fidelity design platforms. But I know I've been in 3D designing since last how many years, man? It's been 7 years now.
Mm.
And I know every one figurine, even a small figurine that's high definition, like has all the details on it, it's going to be more than 1 GB. Now imagine people from around the world being in one space with different avatars of 1 GB. It's not even possible.
No doubt.
Not going to be possible.
Not impossible.
So
The tech will get there. The tech will get there, Jigar.
I want to be there. But the experience is more important.
Yeah.
Being at a space, like 10 people being in a space and having nothing to do together, and then on a high fidelity design, okay, you appreciate everything, you like everything, you had your 10 seconds of your view and you like it. Then what? What would make you come there again? It's the interactivity, it's in the experience. So now, right now, if we ignore the high fidelity and work on the experience, tomorrow the high fidelity is going to be there. But what after that? Once you have that, are you going to then start learning or then starting experiencing the high fidelity, the interactivities? You could do that right now in these low poly design, these voxel platforms, and get there and get all the information. And when the technology is there, you have everything ready on a platter.
Awesome. No, that's a very fair point. And it's interesting. And it's clear that you've done your research and you've looked at your other options. And I can tell that when you see that the ecosystem is ready for the type of metaverse you envision, you're going to jump into these other 3D high immersive
Absolutely.
kind of spaces. But you're clearly, sold on the voxels functionality and the voxels accessibility and utility, right?
Definitely. Absolutely.
That's awesome, man. So I did want to ask for the listeners out there that hear this conversation about wearables and where things are going. We've got your cool wearables up on the screen here that anybody can purchase these pieces and walk through the metaverse as these different cool characters, right? How would you recommend people get involved? Like let's say someone well, let's just say they're starting with nothing and they just really love the idea of getting into digital fashion. They like real world fashion, but they haven't done much building. So how does one just kind of start, dip their toes into this amazing creator economy that's helped you so much and is helping a lot of people and creating really interesting, engaging spaces in the digital world?
I would say be in these spaces, see what people are doing. I mean, no, like just like NFTs, there's no one way to build on an experience. It's just like that. Be in different spaces, see what the options are, see what people are doing, and find your own way. There's not going to be one way. There's not going to be someone who's going to take your money and tell you that this is how you're going to do it. Everyone has their own way to figure it out. Like
Yeah.
for me, building and making avatars is my thing. That might not be the same thing for you. You might want to show your podcast or your videos on space and build an experience in that way. Someone in maybe selling air conditioners would have or cars would have like display different cars on there or videos on cars. It's a different experience altogether. And
No doubt.
it's not going to be easy. They're not going to be master classes or even metaverses. You'll have to be there, you'll have to experience, and you have to build your own
No
own
doubt.
path, I guess. Yes,
Well,
yeah.
that's a great word of advice as far as like there are a lot of people out there wanting you to pay them to consult, and pay them all kinds of money to give you the quick, easiest way to create wearables or create digital assets. But to your point, the better option is to actually take your time, connect with the community if you can, to talk to people like Jigar and others who actually will just help you and give you advice for free. And just being able to jump into these rooms, you know, jump into Clubhouse, jump into Twitter Spaces that are about digital wearables and kind of start there. But looking at the software, is there like a specific software you think? Like I'm looking, I mean, I've started in MetaVoxelz, just tinkering around, don't really know too much, but I've been able to build a little bit. But is there a specific software you kind of would recommend people who are new to the digital wearables to kind of start with?
Uh, if you want to build and start building in voxels, Magica voxels is good. I being a designer, I also mostly for things that I want more details in voxels as well. I work on ZBrush and then import the design in Magica voxels and
Mm.
start coloring on there. Uh, I would say Blender is going to be one of the most important tools in the future and even now. Not just the metaverse, NFTs, creating videos. Even if you have a project and you want to have, if you want to, there's so many things you can do. You can make movies in Blender. There's so many things that you can do, and that's going to be helping you not just in the metaverse space, but so many different ways. As the creator economy, we get in move into the creator economy more and more. It's going to be more handy. So I've always been telling people to start experimenting on Blender, and yeah, I think that's going to be
Awesome.
one big leap
Yeah,
right now.
Blender's been out there, you know, for people that were kind of interested from a gaming perspective or just creating, you know, 3D creations just for art's sake, you know. But now, yeah, the monetizing options, the opportunities in the metaverse is just endless, you know, like wherever your creativity guides you, essentially. So Blender does make sense, most definitely. Thanks for those tidbits. Hopefully, some people out there are inspired to start learning, start taking some classes. So I did want to give you a chance. I know we touched on the MetaVoxelz vision a little bit back in September, but you know, it's 2023. I really love these one-of-one avatar suits that you've got, and I know that the MetaVoxelz brand obviously is, you know, expanding. You've got wearables, you've got these cool you know, mech warriors you got here in voxels, but what is the brand hoping to do in 2023 and beyond? You know, where's MetaVoxelz going?
It's not been any different from day one. It's enjoy, grow, and make friends, make new friends. You know, it's success. Being successful, it's not fun alone. You have to have your whole people, your community with you. So most of my time has not just, even if my previous job is not just about me. I am trying to find ways that it's not that I don't grow by myself. I help others with me, so that when you're successful, when you're at a point that you're having you're happy. And I mean, you should always be happy, but at a point when you feel you're successful or you made it. When you look around you, it shouldn't be you by yourself. You have to have a large population of people who've seen you grow, who've you seen grow, who you trust and you have fun with. And there's nothing like that. So that's my main aim. Have fun, enjoy, be as much as help possible, and just learn. Yeah,
No
there's no
doubt.
other vision.
No doubt. Check out MetaVoxelz on OpenSea. You can follow MetaVoxelz with a Z on Twitter to find Jigar. And yeah, these suits are really, really awesome, man. So do you foresee a future where like anybody with your wearables, like let's say this MetaVoxelz lot, which is coming together really cool, you know, expands into kind of hosting digital events, or I don't know, just being a space maybe that's rented out for certain kind of events? Do your holders receive any benefits? Is there an opportunity to kind of add functional utility to some of these wearables? Have you thought about that? Is that something that's easily
Yes.
done?
For now, 2023, it's everything's connected for me. Like when I say I want to make movies in 2023, I don't want to make new characters or the new avatars or new. I want to play around with the people avatars I already made. So slowly and gradually, the people who supported me and made avatars through me, I'm going to incorporate these characters in these movies, and
Nice,
then
nice.
take it from there. So I nothing's at a hold, nothing's like done. There's always something. Everything's like loose ended so that I can tie them up or link them up somewhere.
That's
And
awesome.
I don't want to forget the stepping stones of where, I mean, in this journey, I want to carry all them and connect it in the future somehow. And yeah, I think it's so
Yeah.
far it's exciting. Yeah, it's
That
exciting.
is what's exciting about this space. You know, like I remember I bought that the journalist avatar that you had there with that cool TV head and you know the different pieces. Maybe I'll go show that. But I'm just really interested in
So
kind of. Pardon?
now imagine that the journalist character avatar is a famous character in a famous movie, in a big movie.
Right.
And
Exactly.
now see that NFT. Now see, so it's always connected. You cannot have a project where it's done and you fold it and put it in your cupboard.
Yeah.
You have to grow from there, and that's it makes sense. At the end of the day, everything connects. For me, everything connects. Yeah.
That's beautiful. So as you grow on chain, and you can look back and yeah, reward your earliest collectors, your earliest supporters. You know, and that's part of why we did our commemorative NFT as well, which has been it's going to be live for a week. It's going to close today, but really it's about just like a little snapshot in time. You know, this is where we were at. 1 year, first podcast ever, you know, really fun conversations. And then later, you know, let's say another year, 2 years from now, and we're hosting events, we're building out with these DAOs. You know, you and I are in Storytime DAO. We're excited. We're always working with Dream Conduit DAO, you know, on the educational side of things. And so there's a lot to kind of look forward to. And while maybe we're under the radar as it is, well, I'm definitely under the radar. Your radar continues to grow, Jigar. But looking at like just being able to actually see that metric and follow an individual, a creator on their entire journey and never have to worry about forgetting, you know, where you started. And not only that, but you can actually reward those people when you look over your shoulder and say, oh yeah, those guys supported me 2 years ago when I was building my first wearables collection, and actually being able to turn that into something that matters, you know, rather than just a memory. It can actually be a utility in the metaverse. So I just find that really, really engaging and exciting to see where things go, you know, in the metaverse. So very cool, man. And kudos on everything you're doing here. So I was curious, you did mention the MetaVoxelz. Does MetaVoxelz work for Sandbox as well? Or do you need a custom SDK to create digital assets for Sandbox? And the reason I ask is because
Sandbox
I
has
feel like
been
Sandbox assets will have quite a bit of an interesting ecosystem around them once they are launched, right? Like I feel like maybe this might be a wrong assumption, but there seems to be a lot of money kind of like flowing around, a lot of corporate money, a lot of industry money kind of flowing around that metaverse. So if a builder like yourself was able to start submitting digital assets for Sandbox, maybe it could be a very lucrative venture. So that's why I was asking, how does that work? Are you familiar?
uh, I've always had the opportunity for from moving from voxels to sandbox.
Mm,
It's it's more money, more VC money. It's better, more clients. Uh, but no, I've always resisted. I'm still, as long as I am not in a position where I have to find a new source of. I'm not going to try. Yes, you can use Magica voxels for sandbox. Answering your first question, but they do have their own SDK as well, which is more precise to how they want their designs,
mm,
functional designs to be in there. So it's always better to use their own in their own SDK.
mm,
But if you build something on Magica voxels, you can always import it to their SDK and then make changes there. But for me, so far, I like I said, I'm still keeping an eye. I have an eye everywhere
mm,
on all the platforms that are having there. But I move with an ethos that I've learned from this space. I'm not the first people over here, but luckily I made friends from the people who are very strong with the ethos and are making sure that this is not disrupted.
mm.
And I do not want I want to live with the same ethos. I want it to be more important than the financial portion. And so far it's I haven't come to the point where I have to make that changes. Uh, but then you never know.
Yeah, it's funny. This just came to my mind, and shout out to Low Sleazy, but he was talking about this in a Clubhouse room recently when comparing Clubhouse to Twitter. And maybe you can make the same analogy when comparing Voxels to Sandbox, which is, Clubhouse is like the community fire, it's like the real heart of the community just gathered around, just hanging out by the campfire kind of thing, right? Whereas the Twitter space is like the hunt, it's like go out and get some fish, or go out and gather, hunt for food, whatever, right? So kind of getting paid essentially is what he's saying, and that's where it kind of happens on Twitter. Sometime in early 2021, the shilling and all of the real hype machine moved over to Twitter, and some of us never moved with it, so we've kind of been maybe out of the loop, or I'll speak for myself, but there's a point to be made there, and maybe looking at voxels, right? If you can, like you just said, kind of start with Magica voxels, create some assets with Sandbox in mind, and then if or when you get access to their SDK, you can kind of beautify them a little bit, but then put assets out there, right? What's the harm in kind of trying to push assets to that metaverse for the sake of, like you said, get your fish, hunt your food, and still have your home base right in the Voxels metaverse, and still see that that's the real community, that's the real OGs, and that's where you really reward your community, you could say. Whereas on Sandbox, you made some cool assets, they're out there, they're at a higher price point, and if they sell, they sell. What do you think about that?
I haven't said no. Maybe if I just might.
Just something to think about, It's not, there's no shame in getting that bag as long as it's done with the right intentions, and you're an awesome builder, and Sandbox needs awesome builders. I'm curious to see where Sandbox goes, because I do think that they're one of those metaverses that is banking on this quote unquote mass adoption, which is what I like about Voxels. They don't care about mass adoption. They're just like, we want you to have fun. We want you to bring your people here to hang out. Everything you make is yours. Everything you build, you can sell. And it's like frictionless, like really straightforward. So I do think that's the benefit of Voxels. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to see where things go on the Sandbox side. But I do think as an awesome developer, as a builder like yourself, you might as well. That would be my standpoint, is like, there are people there. It is still Web3. It is still on chain, and your skills are in demand. So no shame in, getting that fish, doing a little bit of hunting over there, Just going to put that in your mind. All right. I appreciate you. Awesome. So on that other point about events, right? Like I think I mentioned the ability to actually use some of your wearables to kind of maybe create VIP benefits for those who've collected them at a metaverse event. How do you see metaverse events evolving? I know you've been involved with helping some, take place and building, atmospheres for some events. But what do you think is the use case for that? And do you see it continuing to grow from here?
I do say it's going to continue. It's on the experience. When I started on building in the metaverse, it was mostly a transaction, because I know how to build. People want to build something, and I build for them. But then as we started doing events, it opened my eyes. You see moments where you felt, even those are avatars, digital avatars, or things happening digitally, you can feel those emotions. You can feel the happiness when someone's listening to their favorite musician perform or something. And I felt that. I've seen that happen in the metaverse, and that changes everything. Because like I said, it didn't start off like that for me. It was just a transaction before. But the more you see a build, you see these real life things happening, or you feel those things in the metaverse, it makes you feel, it makes your belief stronger. It makes you believe that there's more to this. It's so it's it I've been constantly learning new ways of building on the experience. One of my parcel, which is still a work in progress, is one of the biggest proofs of that, because I am working day and night to build on the experience, to make it not just a voxel build. I am trying to make it a reason for somewhere to come again, or bring your friends along over there and show people. So it's something that I'm constantly building upon, and I think even the platforms are constantly building on the same. So again, sorry, I forgot the main question, but I think I got somewhere close to there.
Yeah,
Right.
no, that's really a good point about like making it so people want to keep coming back. I was going to bring up the Digital Underground lot, but I forgot. I thought it was called DU, but I couldn't find it. But that's the event that kind of pops up in my head. Is it DUHQ or what was it? I can't remember.
I guess.
But I just thought that was a really, really fascinating kind of use case, right? So you got the Money B from Digital Underground fame. He kind of dropped into the blockchain gospel, I don't know, last year sometime. Was it no, it would have been 2021 now. But yeah, I remember having that conversation with him, and he was talking about wanting a space specifically for kind of digital events and being able to kind of show his fans what's possible in the metaverse. And then, yeah, you were able to kind of help bring that to life, right? And so just when I think about events in the metaverse, that's one that kind of pops up. But yeah, I was asking, do you think that that's going to be a growing use case? And how do you actually, what goes into a good metaverse event, I guess, is my kind of follow-up question. What do you think makes a metaverse event successful?
Nothing successful without the community. If you're having an event, if no one knows you, it's not going to make sense. So you have to build a community. You have to build the people for even before an event. At least you need to know people need to know you before you start an event. At least, especially in the metaverse, because it's not something that's old, or what do you call it? How do you explain? It's not something that it's something new. So you have to surround yourself around people who know how it works, and that's where it starts from. And then slowly, the more interactions you have, the more events you do, the more interactive you make these events, and you build on the experience. That's going to still be important. People are still like the position that the time we are at now. People are still learning newer ways. I'm learning newer ways. So yeah, it's a never ending process. You keep learning, you keep building, and that's
So,
how it is right now.
so would you say to kind of make it a success, ultimately, it still kind of comes down to your community and having a community that, well, obviously is interested in something like this, but more importantly, just being visible, right? And kind of taking the time to show your community what's possible in the metaverse. Because I look at it as a really good onboarding tool, right? When thinking about Web3, and I look at someone like Money B, who I have to assume, 95 or 98% of his fans are not necessarily in Web3 or not in the metaverse, but he's able to kind of lean into a use case. I did find the DUHQ. It took a long time to load, but here it is. So you got the dope nightclub on the roof here. You got the lights, everything. So it's an ambiance, right? And so there has to be that kind of engaging, exciting kind of aspect to it. But from what you're saying, it sounds like basically it comes down to your influence and your kind of status within the community as to whether or not your event is going to be a success. Like, you can't just throw up an event in the metaverse, put out some stuff on social media and kind of hope for the best. Would you say that there has to be a little bit more buy-in?
But isn't that like Web3's rule number one? Like community, isn't that where we definitely need each other? I think it's much bigger than that. The reason is with technology and AI happening, we are going to have more time to interact with each other, find new ways to socialize, even though and and these are the means we are going to be able to. Again, looking at my experience, most of the people that I know or the community been able to build is from around the world, and I can't have IRL events, calling them all of them to India, or and I can't be moving every time. So these are going to be the spaces where you are going to work with the community. So you cannot deny that community is going to be rule number one for NFTs or metaverse, anyways. So everything comes after community, my friend.
No doubt. As much as we've criticized that buzzword because it's slowly starting to lose all meaning, but it never will, because Web3, it does come down to like, who are your people, and bring them over here, show them what's possible here. And the more people that kind of buy in and realize, what you're doing and what you're building, and how, jumping into the metaverse and buying your NFTs actually helps you push your professional career forward. Even Money B, as somebody who's an OG in the space, OG hip hop head, he's still touring, he's still doing his thing. So there are real world benefits to having a metaverse space that he can send his fans to for another experience, right? Another kind of arm of his brand, essentially, right? Or their brand in Digital Underground. So it's just, it's really fascinating seeing what's possible here. So thank you so much, Jigar. I just want to say, looking at 2023, looking at so-called bear market, who knows what's going to happen this year? Maybe it'll stick around for a bit longer. How do you feel about, the evolution of the space, and what do you say to those who maybe have lost interest over the last 12 months? Where do you think our focus should be, and what do you say to the people that are kind of doubting the immutability, if you will, of the blockchain?
I would say for the artists and people who are building and creating and developing, keep building. There's nothing that's going to stop you but yourself. So keep waking up every day, keep being positive, and keep building on what you're doing, keep learning, keep growing. The space is here to stay. Believe me, the space is here to stay. And for everyone who's saying the otherwise, let them be. I mean, as long as you're happy with yourself, happy with what you're doing, there's always going to be noise. Please ignore.
No
I
doubt.
mean, I myself go through some similar experiences, self doubts every now and then, but I hold my grounds, and I see those pass by. I mean, all those things don't matter after a couple of days, and you keep growing, you keep building, and that's all matters, my friend.
That's it. Onward and upward, right? Keep building. Always moving forward. I love it, Jigar. Always got the optimistic energy, and we will continue to keep pushing forward, having these conversations, highlighting the Web3 creator economy and what's possible here, connecting with people on the other side of the globe, like Jigar in India. What time is it over there, Jigar?
It is quarter to 12.
Quarter to 12, so it's quarter after. So you're like 12 hours ahead of me. It's basically midnight. Jigar might be getting some sleep or just having some fun over there, but I appreciate your time, Jigar. I really look forward to continuing to build with you, continuing to see your creativity come to life in the metaverse, and we'll probably keep tapping in. I did also offer the invite to the whole Renaissance City crew. We'd love to, once your next project is ready for the limelight, we'd love to have you here and then talk about what you're building and the whole team, and hopefully we can have you guys back. So I appreciate you, Jigar.
Thank you so much, David. It's always a pleasure talking to you. It's while you talk, you get to learn so much about yourself as well. You get the time to look back on what you've done and appreciate it, learn, maybe see if there's little things that you've left out, or maybe made some mistakes. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much. And I'd love to come back again and again.
No doubt. All right. Thank you so much, Jigar. I appreciate you. I hope you'll take my potential advice there on Sandbox. Go get that bag. It's all good. We'll still be hanging out in Voxels. That's how it goes. But I appreciate you, Jigar. And until next time, we'll be back next Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern, every Saturday with the Web3 Warriors. Till then, catch you in the metaverse. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.